committed to the traditional marriage and those types of things. And we're not even sure really where he stands on freedom, but, that's, he makes a few statements about freedom. But fiscally, this country needs a positive and very direct approach to getting control of our fiscal insanity, the debt. Christian Heritage Party has always proposed mandatory balanced budgets, not optional. And, of course, this goes back to the idea that I think Thomas Jefferson said that democracy will only last until the people discover they can vote themselves money. And so the tendency for politicians is to promise money to people. And people, unfortunately, don't always realize that there's only one place for that money to come from, and that's either from their pocket directly or from their children, right? So what we're doing right now is we're seeking candidates. We're looking for candidates across the country to represent voters in as many districts as possible, and we are already in the process of training. So if any of your listeners are interested in serving with us as candidates, give us a call. Go to our website, chp.ca. Find out what we're about, get in touch with us, and let us know that you have an interest in representing life, family, and freedom in Canada.
Okay, well, we have a few more minutes, so I'm going to shift gears altogether here for a minute. Let's not talk about politics. You're obviously you're doing this march tomorrow, as I said. You're in Ottawa for a couple of days. And then you're heading back to BC. So you're flying or driving?
I'm flying back. I drove a car out. A lady.
It's a big country.
Yes, I think I put now since I came to Ottawa today from St. Catharines, I think I've put close to 6,000 kilometers on in the past week and 3 days, and touched base with quite a few of our members and candidates across the country on the way. And so I'll be around for a few more days, meeting with some of our candidates, some of whom I have not met yet in person, and I hope to have some contact, responsible contact. If anyone is concerned about the COVID restrictions or whatever, we're being responsible in how we interact with our members. But then I fly home in sometime next week.
That's not a direct flight, obviously.
No, to get to Smithers, BC, or Telkwa, where I actually live, that's in northern BC, I have to hop to Vancouver and then up north. We live about a 14-hour drive from Vancouver, so anyway, that's... So
what's the weather like up there at this time of the year?
Well, we still had a little patch of snow in our backyard in the shade of the house, where we had done some shoveling. But, garden work has begun. My peas were starting to come up when I left. I planted them when it was still quite cold, and we have some tomatoes coming up in the greenhouse. So the sandhill cranes have gone over about 2 weeks ago, and then we sort of gear some of our planting and activities around the arrival of the cranes.
So you're talking about the birds? The
birds, sandhill cranes. It's a tall bird, long legs, right, that flies north in the spring. They raise.
I've never heard of them. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah. Well, in our area, when they come over the Bulkley Valley, it's a great sound in the spring. They circle for periods of time, catching an updraft, and they make a kind of a melodic croaking sound, if that's not an oxymoron. Once they've gained sufficient height and the wind is favorable, then they all strike out for the north again, and we always love to hear them. We know that spring has come. So the swallows are back. Birds are beginning to make nests. We had a moose in our yard the other day where I live, and we have a fence around our backyard because we don't really want them in the garden, but we don't mind seeing them on our front lawn once in a while.
How about bears? Do you have bears in the community at all?
Yeah, well, we haven't seen them there this spring. I saw two between Prince George and Edmonton when I was driving across, but we have had a bear on our porch before, so they're occasional visitors in our community.
What kind of bear?
Oh, well, that was a black bear, but we do have grizzlies in the area.
Right.
You don't see them often unless you're spending a lot of time up in the alpine areas, but they are in our valley.
So what is the population of the town that you're in?
Well, Smithers is 5,000, and then Telkwa is the village nearby where I live, and it's about 1,500.
Okay, so...
And we're in a wide valley, snow-capped peaks in the distance, but it's a farming valley. There's farming, mining, logging, tourism, and it's a lovely place to live, really. If you ever get as far as Prince George, don't forget to drive 4 hours west to the beautiful Bulkley Valley. You come over a hill called Hungry Hill, and as you come down the slope, the valley opens up and you see the snow-capped peaks, the salmon-bearing streams. It's a wonderful place to live.
Do you fish?
I fish a little bit. I take my grandson out maybe once or twice a year for a little lake fishing. But people that are really avid spend a lot of time along the riverbanks fishing salmon. It is salmon-bearing. But we're fortunate to know people who once in a while bring us a piece of salmon. So,
right.
I don't have the patience to stay on the bank all day. I'm pretty busy with what I'm doing, but we're grateful for those who do bring us a piece of fish once in a while.
Well, Rod, it's been a real pleasure having you in the studio tonight, and I apologize that things didn't go quite as smoothly as we like them to, but all the same, it's... you brought a lot of information to the table and talk a lot about the Christian Heritage Party. Maybe you could just give out that contact information again, just for our listeners' sake.
Sure. Our website is chp.ca. chp.ca, and it's pretty easy to find us there. And we have weekly communiques that we put out. It's an article usually about some current event. About a page and a half that comes out every Tuesday. And people that come to our site, you can go down to the bottom. You can ask to receive that weekly communique by email. There's no charge for that. And we think you'll find it informative. We do a weekly talk, as you know, Joseph, because we had you as our guest on CHP Talks. And people who have get podcasts and so on can look us up either on Apple Podcasts or some of the other platforms, the CHP Talks. Can
you get that on the CHP website?
Actually, we have to post that there, but
okay.
we always post these things on our Facebook page. I'm on my Facebook page, Rod Taylor, CHP Canada Leader, and my Twitter is the same thing, Rod at CHP Canada Leader. Anyway, contact us. There's an information line if you send us an email and you ask to be patched through to me. George Zeckfeld, who runs our office here in Ottawa, can send your messages on to me if there's something you want me to know, and I'd be happy to hear from any of your listeners, and we really appreciate the opportunity to be on this show with you folks. And I certainly understand technical difficulties, so it's in a way it's kind of it says, oh, at least I'm not the only one that sometimes has technical problems.
And it's really it's nice to realize that the world is not coming to a crashing halt, because the first time you have these difficulties when you're on live. You think, oh my goodness gracious, what's happening? But then what do you expect? You're going to have technical problems from time to time, and this is live radio. So. Well,
what I like about your show, you've struggled through the difficulties. It's been an interesting evening, and thank you for having me here. But your technical difficulties are nothing compared to the moral difficulties that the big, well-run social media are having, because they are canceling people's free speech, and you're not doing that. You're doing the right thing at the right time, and you will get through these technical difficulties. I wish we had the same assurance that the social media would realize their error, and the big platforms, and let people have their opportunity to speak.
Well, I appreciate that. So again, thanks, Rod Taylor, leader of the Christian Heritage Party. He's been our guest for all 4 segments of this week's show. And thank you to you, our listeners out there. Again, sorry that Nick was not able to join us live in person, even though he was connected and talking to me and bugging me a little bit from time to time through my earpiece. But he was with us in spirit and in the chat room from time to time as well. In any event, ladies and gentlemen, if you like to listen to us live, Join us again next week. Otherwise, if you're listening to the podcast, don't forget to share with your friends, family, neighbors, etc. And that is it for us this week. So God bless, and we will catch you next week on the Nick and Joe Show on ThinkRadio.ca.